All right, so welcome back. We got Scott Janad, the infinite banking specialist from Family First Life, with us here today. And I just wanted to ask you really the difference between actual rates of return versus average rates of return. Because I've seen people talk about their 401k and they say, I'm averaging 8.5%. And we both know that that's not what they're actually getting. So help me explain to people the difference between average return and actual return.
Well, to be honest with you, that's how society and CNBCs and all social media and everyone talks about, whether it's the S&P 500 over this much inception earning 10%, this average 20%, 6%. Averages don't mean anything, really. It's what did my money, when I put in it, earn as I keep adding to it at the end of the year, and what did I take? Because now what you earn is what you keep. That's really what happens. So when it comes to an example, a very simple example, let's just say you start off with $100,000 in your account. And then something like 9/11 happens or 08 happens, worst market crash in history. Goes down 50%. So now in year two, instead of 100,000, you have 50,000. But in year two, what happens? Usually when we have recessions, we have expansion. Let's just say it springboards right back off the trampoline, and now you make a 100% return. So that means you're back up to 100,000, right?
Right.
So Shannon, how much did you earn?
Nothing.
But what was your average rate of return that advisors are always telling people, what they earn? So what we do is we take the 50, right? 100, right? If you divide those out, you get 20%. 25% is your average rate of return. So now I sold you a bill of goods on guaranteeing you a 25% return. If I told you in the beginning of all this, hey, look, if I show you an illustration that has a 25% guaranteed average, right, return,
Right.
how much would you give me for that?
Everything I have.
Okay. So now I just showed you a way of displaying an average rate of return, but you actually earn nothing. So that's the misconception of averages versus actual. So when you're looking at historical data, whether it's benchmarks made up of a historical average of 20, 25, 30-year back testing of this index or a stock or mutual fund hasn't earned an average of 12% less, but I'm showing you something of 6% on some illustrations, or 7%, whatever it is. That is kind of sometimes minutia, maybe, right? Because you didn't actually earn that. It's just an average of what it was in the ups and the downs, and that's what they projected. If I put the same $100,000 in and added more money to it, at the end of the day, if 20 years from now I put 100,000 in, ups and the downs of markets or even flat lines, right? Where now, if I only have $150,000 at the end of those 20 years, with the ups and the downs or even negatives, what did I actually take home? And that's the difference between averages versus actual. I'd rather put my money into an asset that never stops earning. We call that uninterrupted compounding interest, money that never stops earning.
The eighth wonder of the world.
You can't call something compounding interest if you interrupt it, right? So how can I tell you you're doing, let's say, infinite banking as one of the subjects I keep hearing on social media? How can I project infinite banking using a specific policy that's being displayed out there, whether it's an IUL or a UL or VUL or whatever they're trying to project, right? How can I tell you and show you something that's earning a certain rate of return when there's going to be signs of interruption? If I interrupt it, it's not compounding, right, Shannon?
Right.
So wouldn't you rather put money into an asset like a bank does on their vice presidents? Because I don't know if you knew this or not, but banks, right, they have something called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance.
Right.
Now, banks put money on their vice presidents and high level executives where they have money into whole life. And the reason why they have it in whole life is because they know that money is always going to compound on the dividends, because these companies for 120 years have never missed dividends.
Sure.
So isn't it safe to say that my money is always going to compound with no interruption,
It is.
right? No negative or flatline zero.
Correct.
So I don't know. That's what I would recommend to people if they want to. If they don't, some advisors may disagree, but I mean, I have proof of statistical data of my own policies that I have that I can only talk about myself. But
Yeah. I saw an article from Ted Bennett where he talked about how he's now supporting the 501k, which is technically just a made up term, but for infinite banking, because when you tell people that the better vehicle choice to get them from point A to point B is a life insurance product, people go, no, I'm good. I got that. I don't need life insurance. They don't understand how life insurance works. So Ted thought, well, let's just call it a 501k and we'll call it the upgrade to the 401k. And now people are, knocking the doors down, trying to get them a 501k. But in that article, it talked about the average and the actual rates of return. And it said that most people, say that their average rate of return on the 401k is the 8.5%.
yeah,
But with the actual, plus you take off inflation, he said it's only really around 2%. I forgot what it was, like 1.89 or something that you're actually getting on your 401k. Does that sound right?
yeah, it could be lower depending upon how aggressive the portfolio is laid out by any advisor,
Yep.
right? Who manages money. Because what you don't see, which is all statistical data, factual data that people like Tony Robbins writes in his book, or even Ray Dalio mention these things about, if you look at everything, there's still hidden fees no matter what, right? Whether it's mutual funds, indexing, there's still hidden fees you don't really see. You don't know what's really going on in those front loads, back loads, even though you're paying 1 to 2% of management fee, right? To
Yeah.
have someone manage it, which they're not even really managing it. But if they did, you're not even calculating the fee. So when you have the ups and the downs in a 401k and you're contributing pre-tax dollars, well, now you're not even really using it. You're letting Wall Street play with the money every 2 weeks. They still get paid. The company gets paid their percentage, the fees that are coming out, you don't see. And then the government locks you in for, till age 59 and a half. Because if you actually do have an emergency and you take money out of it, there's gonna be a 10% penalty plus ordinary income tax. I mean, now when I actually get my rate of return at the end of that 40-year, run from 35 to 65, I'm ready to retire. You think you have that much money and you've averaged 10% for those 30 years. But guess what? If you take the numbers of the money you contributed at the end of the day with fees and inflation, you may only really earn 4 or 5%. So it's crazy, right?
Yeah. That is nuts.
I don't know. I mean, me personally, if I had to go back in my 20s, I would never contribute money into a 401k, even though everyone always says something about, oh, your matching is free money, right? You keep hearing this, Shannon? I got free money. I'll take the free money
hear it
first,
all the
right?
time.
Free money. It wasn't meant for us. Ted Bennett even came out to say, and when he wrote the article about, it wasn't meant for us. It was really meant for corporations to write off millions of dollars for thousands of employees to get the write-off.
Yeah.
Even though we get the write-off, sometimes standard deductions is enough to get the write-off.
Sure.
Right? But
did you
then
see what
people
he
that
said
want to
about
pay,
the?
yeah.
Did you see what he said about the employer match? He said
No,
that
no.
he said they did. I forget the company that, but they did some research on statistical tax data, and they said that for every $1 a company actually matches to a 401k, they pay 90 cents less per hour to men and 99 cents less per hour to women. So they're really just taking $1 out of your paycheck to hand you $1. So you're netting pennies. You're not netting dollars.
I did see that. You mentioned, yeah, that's right. You mentioned that last time. And you're 100% correct. Today, to put money into an asset that you have no control of how it works, and then if you have an emergency, like you want to go buy a new air conditioning unit or appliance, or you need new tires for your car because something happened, they went bald, or your child needs something. But now you have no access but to go to your 401k. And now you're getting penalized for the same program they're giving you as a benefit called retirement.
Yep.
When I'd rather them keep the free money, because when the markets are down in 01 and 08, what's going on with my free money then when I'm losing 35, 40, 50%? Now my free money is gone money and I gotta wait. And if I have an emergency then, or COVID happens, or I lose my job, now I'm in trouble.
Right.
Whereas if I get educated and I work with a specialist like yourself or myself, any one of us, where now we can get together and find out, how does money really work? How can I put my extra money, savings, overpayments, 401ks, how can I bundle all that together and start designing a specially designed and engineered whole life dividend paying policy like the banks do on their VPs, and contribute to that, where we have control and access to it immediately for loans, and it'll compound on the dividends forever, right? We can't
So the
guarantee
bank,
it, but I'd say 99% certain I'm going to get one, because these companies over 100 years in business have never missed a dividend. So it's safe to
right.
say I'm going to get one, right?
Yeah. And instead of the banks earning the 10%, then off the investment portion, we can earn that ourselves.
Correct. That's crazy you bring up the banks, because people are always talking to me about banks are doing this, banks are doing that, and how banks make money, where they put their money.
How they make
Well,
bank.
yeah, how they make bank. I mean, it's all public data. They can all go on FDIC.gov. You go on FDIC.gov, look at the balance sheets. Now, it won't tell you its whole life. They'll tell you how much in billions that they're putting in, but we're talking about 30+% of their money inside of these whole life cash value plans. And the reason why it's whole life, not any universal policy, is because they can't take on any risk. Because in order for a bank to get what they call tier 1 capital, they need to have a certain percentage of their money set aside in guarantees in reserve. And the only places you get real guarantees are in the whole life structure. So if the banks are doing that, why don't we just do what banks do, right? Do what the banks do. Just do that. But now, instead of going ahead and leaving 20,000, 40,000, 100,000 sitting in your bank account, letting the banks make and lend your money 10 times, and you get less than 1% sitting in your savings and checking account. Isn't that crazy how they pay us that?
Yeah.
Man, they get to lend you my money, give me 1% earnings, charge you 6, and they make the spread. That's
Right.
nuts, man. Where it's the same thing as if you want to buy a car. Shannon, if you want to buy a car for $30,000 and you have 50,000 sitting in your bank right now, you have two options. One, you can take the money from your bank account and go ahead and just buy it in cash, right?
Mhm.
Good. But then you'd have to replenish the money, wouldn't you?
Right.
That's going to take you a while to replenish. And now you lose the opportunity cost that your money could have been earning somewhere else. That's one. Two, if you borrow the money, because you can borrow the money, and now when you borrow the money out, let's just say you borrow from the same bank that has your 50,000. So let me get this straight, because I've heard a lot of this comments from Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman and other people out there in the world talking about this stuff of borrowing your own money from a life policy and paying yourself back and them earning the interest. That's not how these things work, just so people understand. Like, they're selling a bill of goods on content out there on social media to scare you. Same thing a bank does, because the bank's just going to lend you their money, right? Your money. Bank lends you your own money to buy that $30,000 car, charges you the 5%, gives you 1%, and you're just borrowing your own money, Dave.
Yep.
Susie. And guess who you're paying the interest back to? The bank. So aren't they doing the same thing that you're telling us life insurance or companies doing a whole lot?
That's exactly right.
But what if I told you that you can take the same $50,000 from your savings account, put it right inside of the whole life policy if it's designed properly, because I know you know how to design these properly. I've seen you. Right? And now when you put $50,000 into this policy, you can borrow $35,000 right out tax free to go get your car. And when you're borrowing your money, funny, you're not borrowing your money, are you, Shane?
Borrowing their money.
So you're borrowing the insurance company's money. So really, you're leveraging your death benefit. So the company's just giving you your death benefit early while you're alive, charging you an interest rate, which is fair, right? They're giving you their money, right? And when we pay the interest and the payments back, well, the interest goes back to the insurance company, but your money sitting in your cash value account is still earning dividends, I think, on the full value. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, some companies don't allow you to do that. So I know you know the difference between a non-direct recognition company versus a direct company. See, the company we're using at the moment as one of the carriers, right? They do not recognize any loans that you have outstanding. So when you get your loan and you receive your dividend, it's on the full value of your policy. Other companies that are direct may or may not give you your index or your dividend credit that you're
Right.
on any monies outstanding.
So the point there is you want to make sure you're working with a company that is non-direct recognition.
Correct. Correct. I mean, in my opinion, I do. I mean, there's a lot of different media content out there telling you it's not how it works. Like this, the moral of the story is this: if it's a stock company, mutual company, they can pull the levers whenever they want to. They control it. The mutual companies, you own a piece of it, so you're part of that ownership. So they don't really want to mess with you. Like you're contributing to the capital of their profits, your share. So that's kind of where I'd rather just put my money to a company. So agents need to understand how their carrier works, how do loans work, how does my money get credited, how are the fees associated? And there's no fees or surrenders in any of these programs through whole life that we're designing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, I hope this finds people well. They might think positive, negative. They might think they know more or less. We could be
If they think
spewing
they do,
facts, so
feel
we
free
can.
to teach us something.
Yeah, hey, look, everyone can teach us. Write some comments below, and love to share our feedback and work with you. Shannon and myself, we're here to help educate and train people. You can click his link below, and we'll get on a call and see if this is right for you, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good. Awesome, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate the info.
You too, man. Pleasure. Thanks, Shannon.